So, everybody wants to take a seat? Okay, welcome everybody. My name is John Lefebvre. I'm the County Administrator for Marinette. Just wanted to give you a quick welcome. Welcome everybody that's here to this Community and Economic Development discussion. I want to give a special thanks to the panelists for contributing of their time this afternoon. Thank you all. You've all been great to communicate with and work with. And right up until today, actually, we added our last panelist. I won't tell you who that is, but we added our last one this morning, and thank you for joining us, all of you. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank and introduce to you our moderator for this afternoon's discussion, Mr. Keith Killen. Keith is the co-owner of M&M Plaza with his wife Barb. In addition to a shopping center, they own and operate the local and independent businesses of Mighty Pet and Plaza Ace Hardware. Prior to his current endeavors, he was in the supermarket industry with experience in regional manager for business and development. He serves as the director of Stevenson National Bank and Trust Board and a member of the City of Marinette Plan Commission, Menominee Downtown Business Association, and the M&M Area Chamber of Commerce. In addition, he serves on various M&M Community Foundation committees and contributes to a monthly column about community image to the local Tri-City Neighborhoods magazine. Keith lives in Marinette. He does business in Menominee and believes in a community-wide potential as a vibrant place to live, work, and play. I do have to say that I met Keith a couple of years ago with a little group that we get together and talk about economic and community development. He impressed me the first time I met him. He impressed me more over the last 2 weeks with everything he's done to try to pull this together. I greatly appreciate everything you've done, Keith. You've done a wonderful job. I think the panelists would probably say that too. I'm sure you were very professional when you talked to them. And so I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, John. Very gracious of you. I am grateful for this chance to serve the Marinette County Board of Supervisors as moderator for this panel discussion. Panelists have your questions that you submitted in advance. They've chosen the ones that they're most expert in responding to. We're going to have a conversation. So we're going to start with the first question. They'll build on the questions. And at the point where we're done with that topic, I'll ask if the board has any questions to follow up with that. Then we'll go on to the next topic, and we'll go on that way for about 45 minutes. At that point, we'll take a break, about a 10-minute break, and we'll come back, and then we'll give the board a chance to ask follow-up questions. With this meeting, we hope to set an example in public civility. We want to create a brisk interchange. Please refrain from interrupting or speaking over anyone, suppress the urge to digress or go off topic. And please strive to be specific and avoid generalizations. So let's get started with the introduction of your panelists. Okay, we're going to start down here on your left. Rudy Stangelmeyer. Rudy is the Chief Operating Officer of Winsert. Winsert is a locally owned independent manufacturer that engineers precision metal parts. Rudy is responsible for the manufacturing all the way from the materials that goes out the door. Rudy has relocated here about 4 years ago, so he has the perfect perspective of what it's like for a professional to relocate to our community. I'm going to let Rudy tell you what's happening a little bit from Winsert's point of view.
Thank you. So I'm Rudy Stangelmeyer. I've been with Winsert for about 4 years. A lot has happened in the time. Winsert is 41 years old. It was founded by... Can you hear me? So Winsert celebrated 41 years last year. And a lot has happened in the 4 years since I've been here. I'm going to go.
Yeah, we're good. This one seems to work. This is a good one. So about 3 years ago, we added a research and development center, and currently we're adding 20,000 square feet to our production. So if you drive by there, you'll see all the construction going on. They're hoping for good weather right now so they can pour some concrete today and tomorrow and into next week. So we see an expansion trend, successful development of the business. As I mentioned, Windsor's been in the community for 41 years, and our expectation is we will be here for many decades into the future. And the investment that the company is making certainly reflects that belief that this is a great place to be and to be a world-class company. Thank you.
Okay, it's working. There we go. Next is Kim Brooks. Kim is the co-owner of Wolf Properties with her husband, Rusty Wolf. Rusty is the artist. Kim operates the business. They are independent business people that do work on a national level locally here from Marinette. They are investing in the future of our area by preserving and restoring properties in both Marinette and Menominee. They have multiple properties that are at different stages of development for the retail and business operations. Kim brings a fresh perspective to our local and independent business community. I'll let Kim tell you more about the business.
Hi there. My husband and I own 3 small businesses in Marinette. The first is a property development company called Wolf Properties. We purchase and refurbish historically or architecturally significant buildings. The first one we completed was the Garfield Technical School, and then the Globe, which now houses Lucky Martin, as well as another one of our businesses, the Main Street Antique Mall, and Rusty Wolf Studios. We're currently working on 2 properties on Hall Avenue, directly across from the new Quick Trip, if you remember the old Country Peddler. So we're doing a historic facade restoration. That will be in the top floor, 3 residential apartments and retail in the ground floor, and that'll be open by next spring. We also have what my husband calls the crown jewel, which is the Christian Science Church on Stevenson. That's one of the future projects, and we have a number of other things in the works. So the second business, as I've already mentioned, is the Main Street Antique Mall, where we provide space for 25 local vendors to sell their wares. And the third business is my husband's art business, which is Rusty Wolf Studios. We have a private gallery above the Antique Mall at the Globe, and a studio over in the Lincoln School and Garfield Technical Schools in the neighborhood on Garfield and Vernon.
Thank you, Kim. Next up is Jason. Jason Figus is the plant manager for Carfair Composites USA. Carfair manufactures fiberglass components for auto and bus industry. Carfair is located in Wasaki. Jason lives in Wasaki and is native to that area. He covers what it's like manufacturing out in the county. Jason, tell us what's happening going on with Carfair.
Yeah, thank you. A lot of you probably are familiar with Carfair. Carfair was a business that was developed about a year ago. Was previously Wasaki Composites out of Wasaki. The business Wasaki had was struggling. Carfair came in and purchased Wasaki, and it's been on an upward slope ever since. Our main industries we serve are the agricultural, construction, and our parent company who does transit buses. And as most of you know, the transit industry is going very strong right now. Carfair is composed of 6 different manufacturing facilities, 4 of them in the U.S., 2 of them up in Winnipeg. And all the U.S. facilities mainly serve the U.S. New Flyer Industries, which is our parent company. So New Flyer is growing, Carfair is growing as a brand, and we're looking to move forward with the Marinette County and the rest of the people in the area.
Thanks, Jason. Jill Kaycook. Jill is the Director of Human Resources for Johnson Controls, formerly Tyco Ansel. She's involved in recruiting and employee relations for both production and management positions. Jill sees firsthand the realities of hiring and retaining talent here in our community. Jill's native of Menominee. Jill, tell us what's happening from JCI's perspective.
Sure. So I'm sure everybody in the room has seen the new Johnson Control signs here in Marinette. So really it's the same business that we always used to be, as Keith mentions, previously known as Tyco, or prior to that Ansel, where we made quality life savings equipment for 106 years now. So Johnson Controls and Tyco combined in September 2016, and now being combined with Johnson Controls, we actually have more than 120,000 employees globally, in over, I apologize, and we have over 800 workers here in Marinette. So going forward, we hope to continue to grow and engage our current workforce. One of the most exciting things is that we are going to be moving our warehouse over to the Menominee side. So we're going to be increasing our warehouse space to 210,000 feet. So that'll be a great move for us. But it's important that we continue to grow. We have an important job at Johnson Controls or Tyco. We really do save lives. Our employees are proud to say that they save lives, and they take pride in their work that they do every day.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for being here. Jim Hawkowitz. Jim is the General Manager of BTM Manufacturing Specialty Papers in Peshtigo. Jim lives near Peshtigo and is a native of the area. Jim, tell us a little bit about what's going on in BTM's management.
Well, BPM, the facility is specialty paper mill, confectionery, packaging, environmentally friendly, 100% post-consumer papers. Currently employ 115 people in Peshtigo in our O'Connell Falls facility. We've been around since 1929, but the last 13 years is privately held. I'll put a little plug in here for our company. We provide competitive wages, health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, short-term disability insurance, life insurance, 401k match, vacation, as most of these people do. A lot of us are in the same boat, and I'm thankful for allowing us to come and tell our stories about how we hope to improve quality of life and economy and community as a whole. BPM has always placed a high priority on supporting, fostering, and encouraging local community growth, manufacturing, health, and educational courses. Our intent is to continue to participate in those events. I spend a lot of my time in the recruiting role now. Paper mills, as you know, a lot of things have become automated. Now it's finding the personnel, the right people to control and operate those types of equipment. Thank you.
Always be recruiting, right? Next, Laura Cormier is the President and CEO of Bellin Health Systems in the Northern Region. Laura has 30+ years in healthcare knowledge and experience. Most recently, Laura helped develop Bellin Health O'Connell Hospital and Marinette Clinic. Laura, share with us Bellin's way of looking.
So I don't live here, but I feel like I do when I'm here all the time. But as you know, a couple of years ago, we added a 106,000 square feet clinic, and last December, we opened an ambulatory surgery center right next to it. So Bellin has been in this community for about 25 years, working with healthcare, first in partnership with Bay Area, and then when we opened the clinic. We also have a clinic in Crivets and in Peshtigo, and we are here to improve the health of the community, which helps help you hire people that want to work and come to work and are able to come to work. So that's really important to us. We also employ over about 210 employees in the county through our facilities. The clinic is affiliated with O'Connell Hospital in O'Connell, and it's just how Bellin has configured its organization. So from O'Connell North is considered the northern region of our healthcare system.
Thanks, Laura. Next up is Ken Newman. Ken and his wife are partners in Wildman Adventure Resorts and Outposts in Marinette County, with Outposts in Marinette County. After traveling here to vacation for years, they chose to live the adventure and bought the business 10 years ago. The adventure industry is an experience our region can build upon for our identity. Ken represents doing business in the county. Ken, tell us about the possibilities from your vantage point.
Yeah, so we have two locations. We're kind of out in the woods here. We're in Niagara and in Silver Cliff. We do whitewater rafting, zip lines, paintball, rock climbing, stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking. 10 years ago because I saw the potential in the area, coming from outside the area. There's things unique to Marinette County that don't exist anywhere else in the Midwest. So when I was working trade shows 10 years ago with the original owner, there was people standing in line in Chicago and Milwaukee trying to get our information to come here. So we've been doing this for 10 years. This year was our best year in those 10 years, so there's definitely a trend upwards. You know, we've been doing a lot of things, working on just our customer service. You know, for us in tourism, it's big for TripAdvisor, Yelp, and those types of things, as well as just our advertising. You know, online, sort of moving more things more to the internet. Like that's where people are finding us both locally and from out of town. So we're looking to grow. You know, if we can get to 10 times the size we are right now. I don't think it's out of the question based on other industries in other states that have similar resources to what we have here.
Thank you, Jim. Next is Lois Ellis. Lois is the Executive Director of the Dickinson Area Economic Development Alliance. Lois is native to Petoskey, graduated from Northern Michigan University with a degree in marketing. Lois spent 12 years working for the Lake Superior Community Partnership in Marinette County in various economic development roles. During this time, she achieved her Certified Economic Development certification and also the designation of Economic Development Financial Professional. She spent time serving as the Upper Peninsula Business Development Manager for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. She joined the Dickinson Area Economic Development Alliance in 2017, December. Lois brings us an experience and objective viewpoint to our discussion today. Lois, please give us the lay of the land as you see it from here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a little bit different, I think, than the rest of the panelists. I brought my passport. I came from across the border. So we're in the Iron Mountain area in Dickinson County. Our economic development organization really reinvented itself in the last couple of years, and I came on board to lead that effort. We, in the past had an organization that did not have a lot of representation from private business, and now we have flipped that around, and our organization is funded 80% by private business and just 20% by the public sector. So we kind of have a new model that we're working through, and we're setting a course for success. The reason that everyone got re-energized about economic development in our neck of the woods is the same reasons you've heard from the other panelists. We have a lot of manufacturing and industry in Dickinson County. We're fortunate to have a number of large manufacturers and very advanced technology in a lot of those companies. And they were seeing such a difficulty in locating the talent that they need. At the same time, they had a lot of opportunities to grow, and they were needing more and more workers. So they knew that something different had to be done, because what we were seeing was workers were just moving around the county, going from one place to another within the same small region, but we weren't adding new people very often to that mix. And they knew they had to work with a broader group. One company wasn't going to accomplish it on their own. And so through the Alliance, we are just 10 months into our strategies, but we're really feeding off the positive energy of the collaboration and having the right people in the room to really advance our region and find some ways that we can all work together to locate that talent, develop the talent locally, and also bring it in. So that is what we're all about. So I'm happy to be here and looking forward to the discussion today. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here. We're going to start with questions. The first question, these were questions submitted by the Marinette County Board of Supervisors. There are 50 questions. I think in one way or the other we'll touch on those. We're going to start the first question with Jill. What, if anything, is preventing your company from growing and expanding your workforce?
So I think it won't come to any surprise to anybody in this room, but number one would be the difficult hiring situation. So there's a lot of competition in this area for both your skilled level and your entry-level positions, which wasn't always the case. I think 10 years ago, there was the competition for your skilled level positions, so your CNC operators and welders and so forth, but now the problem has grown to attracting all levels of employees. So it's not an awful problem to have, but I think the company could potentially do a lot more growing if we had the larger population to pull employees from.
Jason, how's that working out for you?
Yeah, so to add what Jill said, I'll back it up with some hard data. When Carfair came in and took over, we were severely past due with a lot of our orders to a lot of our customers. We just couldn't get the people to build the product. Unfortunately, that makes some decisions to cut some very big customers. So we had to go and ask, like Case New Holland, John Deere, those types of level of customers to move their product to other vendors of fiberglass components. A lot of those went to the Midwest, some of them went to the East Coast. But it's hard when you're part of an organization that's worked so long to build it up to a strong organization with a good customer base to ask a lot of those customers to simply move their products because you can't handle the volumes. So I'll double what Jill said and just say, attracting people to the area is really what's going to take our business to the next level.
Lois, what's that look like in Dickinson County?
So, absolutely the challenge is finding enough workers at every level. And as far as perspective, so in Dickinson County, we surveyed our larger employers, and to just replace retirees, but also to meet their growth needs over the next 3 to 5 years, we need at least 1,300 employees, new employees. Now, when you look at our population in our schools, even including the schools across the border in our neighboring Wisconsin counties, we probably only have about 400 students in any one grade level coming out of high school. So we know we have a huge demographic problem. We're not going to capture all of those kids and keep them in the area, although we're working very hard to educate them on the opportunities that are there for them. But we know we have to bring people in too. So one of the first strategies that we're using for that is building an alumni network. I think for years we haven't communicated to people that have relationships in our community about the level of opportunity that is available, and also the other quality of life things that have been happening, the sense of community that is building. So we're working very hard to be able to communicate that to our alumni that have left the area and help them understand that if they do want to come home at some point in their career, that we are, our doors are open, we have wonderful opportunities for them, and they would be welcomed. We're also building skill development at the local level, things like we have a Young Professionals Network. We are just kicked off a leadership academy so that we can also build that talent from within.
Thank you, Lois. Anyone else want to add to that thought from the panel? How about a question from the board on that question?
When you recruit from the outside, so if you're recruiting for an engineer or something and you're going US-wide and you get somebody from away from the area, and they decide they come to the interview, they look at it, and the wife might come along, or whatever the case may be. When they turn it down, and if they turn it down, what are the reasons? Do they give you reasons they turn it down? Anybody?
So, yeah. You hear quite a few different things. One of them is they maybe are seeking multiple positions at the same time, so it's a better offer elsewhere, more advancement opportunities for different industries. I'm not gonna lie, some people are scared away by our winters. And the other thing I think the county has going against it is just the stigma around the drug problems in the issue. I think we really need to look to try to get past that and really sell the great things that we have with this community.
I'll just reiterate that as well. The compensation type for the area, winters, that's a thing. A lot of times we have people who want to come up here for that, for some of the activities that we discussed. It's very different. Every individual is different. I don't think there's any one reason why they don't. And I think we have to do a better job of selling the community, selling the county, selling the area, and promote the good things that are there versus asking the question, why not? I mean, that'll help, it'll give direction, but we have to promote better.
I'll just share a quick story. As we try to recruit physicians, the spouse is very important in that decision making. And we had someone from out east turn this down because all she knew about this area were the people that painted themselves green and gold at the games without shirts, and she did not want to come here.
That should be a selling point. So you're right, you touched on the spouse. You know, that's a huge issue. So we know that it typically takes 2 careers to move a family or an individual these days. So we've created a network where our human resources folks in the community have participated in a roundtable, and so now they're all networking together, and they're sharing those resumes when they have a candidate that's coming to town and the spouse or significant other that's coming along with them is looking for a career. Then we're getting that information out and sharing it within our network, so that helps as well.
Any other follow-up to that question?
Yeah, we don't have a 401k, no dental insurance, no health insurance, but we work outside, we have fun, and we have a hard time finding employees. Like, what we need is weekend people. Like, our business, probably 80% of it happens on Saturday. It's being more and more like that, and we can't even find, if we had more people working, got people down the river to take them on a zip line, we could have done more business this year as well.
I'd like to follow up real quick on what Jill touched upon. We already discussed at length kind of the 2 career family, the spouse situation, but the other part of that equation is the kids and the educational system and the stigma that we have with girls. Not only is the girl problem locally a problem when we hire people, and many people can comment on that, but many of our applicants just don't pass the drug screening, so we can't hire them. But people that come here and send their kids to school, and as soon as they do any research about programs locally, that comes up real quick, that statistic, and that scares some people away.
Other on that topic? Okay. If not, we're going to change questions. This question is, what does success look like for your community? And this will start off with Kim.
So I think success is a place where your children or your grandchildren are going to want to stay. And I have the experience of having been born here in Marinette, but I lived my entire life in Nashville. My husband and I came here as tourists about 12 years ago, and we absolutely fell in love with what was available here. The natural beauty, the weekend opportunities for sports, no matter what time of the year. And we made a sincere effort to find a way to transition to this area, and now we've been permanent residents for 2.5 years. And in the short time that we've been here, we've seen such wonderful positive momentum. I mean, you can talk about the many new hospitals and clinics, the rec center, the list is long, which is wonderful. But we need a community development that supports what people are going to do after work, what kids are going to do after school, what kinds of things are we offering, what do our downtowns look like, and something that's very important to me personally is making sure that our downtown becomes a vibrant place again. If you look at statistics on how rural communities and small towns across America are successful in economic development, in most cases it starts with downtown development. So my husband and I have thrown our hat in the ring, and we're doing our part down there, and we're going to continue to work hard to try to offer opportunities for people in the area. And I would love to see some of my relatives come back to the area as well.
Thank you, Kim. Follow up from that question, what does success look like in your community? questions from the board?
Do you have a feeling is it academic opportunities we're lacking? Is it social and arts? Is there any kind of area that you see really sticks out as something that should be worked on to do community development?
You know, I think it's all of the above. I think that it's a cultural aspect. We are so lucky to be here at the UW in this theater. This is an anchor culturally for our community. And having the art gallery out there, the ability, all of the things that happen here. But I'm not trying to be vague. I just think that we need to try to grow in as many ways as you just pointed out as possible. And there are things happening. There's a lot going on in the visual arts here. You know, we've had a couple of summers of very successful public art projects in our community, whether it's the Welcome Walleyes that kicked off the Cabela's tournament last summer, or the trout and the painted flower pots that were in the medians this summer. We're working on a project next year for art benches in the community. And that's a small thing, but I think you have to start somewhere.
Kim, there's a question here that you were interested in. Are there any ways your business can help with community development?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that encouraging your employees to participate in the community is important. Some friends of mine from Stevenson National Bank are here, and I think that that institution does a fantastic job of getting people out into the community. Being supportive of the efforts that are going on, whether that's through Downtown Action Group or through the Chamber. It is a responsibility that we all have, and if you can do it personally, or you can encourage the folks who work with you to participate in the opportunities that are out there, because we have a lot of great ideas in our small groups. We just don't have enough people to help implement them. So I'm happy to take your name if you want to help.
Just to add what Kim said, I think it's important that as we start new businesses or there are businesses here, that we really need to try to help them continue to be sustainable and managed for the long term. Because you drive around and you see empty storefronts because businesses have gone under. So I think that's one thing that's really important. I think from a healthcare perspective, and I talked about earlier improving community health, but we've got to help people understand the importance of having a primary care provider. And I'm not saying that just on my behalf. If Bay Area was here or Aurora, they would say the same thing, because what that does is help you get the immunizations that you need, take care of age-appropriate screenings so that you don't have a huge bill down the road because you didn't get something taken care of, take care of chronic conditions as well. And also, one of the other things that your public health department, every public health department in Wisconsin is required to do this, is to do a community health improvement assessment. And Molly Beaujean just completed that with a lot of community input, and their three focus areas are mental health, improving access, reducing drug and alcohol abuse, and improving physical activity and better nutrition options. And if a community gets behind that and helps fund those things, that's very, very important. Some of you may not know, but there's a county health ranking that comes out annually. It comes out usually in May or June. And of the 72 counties in Wisconsin, Marinette County ranks 55th in health outcomes and health behaviors. And that's not good. So there's a lot of things that around health that individuals can do, organizations can do, communities can do to improve health that then deals with a lot of the issues that the others are talking about.
I'm going to continue with that question before I ask for other questions here. Because Rudy, you have an interest in the question, is future economic development dependent on community development? If so, explain.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for all the reasons that we discussed, the community development is tied together with the future economic development. I want to caution a little bit about the nature of the cycle of economy. So right now we're all struggling to get employees for production, but that won't last forever. The way to build into the future is we have to look beyond these business cycles and build sustainable businesses that will be competitive worldwide. And the way we do that is to attract top talent. You cannot have a world-class company unless you have world-class people. And so we have to tie the community development and be able to attract some of the top talent into the community. These are the people for the production businesses, manufacturing. These are people with STEM degrees, engineers, programmers. These are the people who are going to install automatic machines. They're going to be programming those machines. They're going to be developing the equipment that will allow us to be more productive into the future. And again, if we can't attract those people to come here and move here and stay for a while, bring their families, raise them here, then we will, when the downturns come, when the economic conditions change in a few years, or whenever that comes, it will be difficult to regain that momentum.
Did you follow up with that, in addition to that one? Okay. What kind of questions from the audience on that? Community development.
Do you think we have the right type of education for each needs? I hear a lot about what we're doing with tech schools and high schools in order to have welders and things like that. I mean, is there more that needs to be done in order to meet your needs?
Yes, and I'm actually very pleased to, probably most of you know, but I just recently heard that University of Wisconsin Green Bay, together with the Marinette County campus, is establishing a mechanical engineering. And so having engineering talent locally, people that we can recruit to come here, or they're here and continue to build their education, I think that would be a really important foundation. So I think when we look at engineers and how to attract them to here, that's always been a challenge. We can have some people that are already here and get them to pursue further education in engineering, programming, physics, and the STEM degrees. I think that'll be tremendous.
From the community development standpoint, budgets are tight everywhere. You guys probably have some issues with that too. But when it comes time, if the county would create a plan, it would be a plan that would be something that you all could buy in on, maybe participate on the creation of it. Would your companies be willing to put some money towards it?
Before I pass the mic, I'll say that Windsor believes in this community, and I think we have a proven record of contributing financially as well as any other way we can to our programs. So
Yes, and I think you'll hear a little bit later in my presentation on some of the ways that we work at it. You'll hear a lot of that. Yes, we will support it. BPM will support it. To what level? Define the plan. And I think you'll hear more about that, as well as you had a question, sir, about the educational piece. A lot of information I want to share about the educational piece.
Okay. Next question. Yes.
Gilbert up in the corner.
I'm sorry, really?
Gilbert up in the corner had a question.
Okay, there.
Yeah. I guess my question is that I don't know if we need to reinvent the wheel, and so what has been successful in other areas that has worked to arrive at the goals that we're all talking about? I mean, there's got to be other areas that have done things that have actually worked, that have actually caused the kind of growth that brought in the kind of people that you're talking about. Because you're right, you need the talented people to fit the demands that you're making. So there's got to be other areas that have done that, I would assume.
So just an example from the Upper Peninsula region, Marquette. If you haven't been to Marquette in a few years, you should
take a look. And that all stemmed from a lot of downtown development, like Kim mentioned. A strong downtown development authority really put together a plan and worked hard at filling all those storefronts and making them look beautiful and having opportunities at all times of day so that the shops aren't closed down at 5 o'clock. The coffee shops stay open. There's art, community, and culture that's thriving. It all started with a couple key buildings in that town being revitalized. And so, you know, I think if you had to pick one place to spend your time and effort, I think starting with your downtown is just a fantastic place to put some energy behind. The other thing that happened, there's a wonderful children's museum in downtown Marquette, and that, you know, is a really healthy place for families. So it's all of that sense of community that you can build in a downtown area that people are looking for today. And I know in Marquette they were very successful in seeing later in life professionals locate there. They didn't necessarily even have ties to the region, but they were finding all of the attributes that they wanted to find in the community. The energy in the community, because there is a university, so there's a younger population, the arts and culture that comes with that, a little bit of diversity even for the UP, which is a good thing, comes with the university. So, you know, you have some of those things here. So I think you really have the building blocks if you wanted to put some energy behind a development plan that could really make an impact in your downtown. I think that might be a great place to start.
Just to say that I have my new favorite book, Building a Vibrant Community, which is largely a case study from Pensacola and how they turned a city around that was really in ruins to a very vibrant and successful community. And I think the most important thing to remember is that we don't want growth for the sake of growth. We want positive, measured growth for a certain end, and you have to design your plan in order to achieve that end. So you're not looking for more bodies, more traffic. You're looking for a more well-rounded community and more offerings. And like you said, things that are going on in the evening, so you could go to Main Street or you could go somewhere else and have opportunities that aren't strictly limited to bars at night. I don't have problems with bars, but that's, you know, that is the easiest thing to find to do. So anyway, I highly recommend Building a Vibrant Community.
Other follow-up there? I'm going to turn to another question that's similar, still on the community track, Laura. You had your question of how would you describe our community to a stranger?
So I do this a lot because when we recruit, especially providers, physicians or nurse practitioners or PA, they're often from out of the area. So one of the first things they do want to know is what is the community like. And I always explain, to me, it appears very friendly, family focused, a lot of events that go on. It's a wonderful place to raise a family with a few issues, as we've already talked about. And there's a lot of opportunities for the outdoor recreation all year long. You have a very good key public infrastructure with fire, schools, police. That's something that people look for when they come to a community. There's reasonable costs, although I think we can get into housing in another question, but there is some deficits in housing. When new people come in, sometimes they are not interested in buying a house right away, but they kind of want to look at the place a little bit, live in it a little bit, and there is really a lack of above lower income rental properties and rental availabilities. That's very hard for people to find. I think there is very eclectic dining in the area, which appeals to people who are maybe coming from larger urban areas from their training. And there's a real good mix of urban and rural populations that for healthcare are always just very grateful for any healthcare that's provided locally. And then larger cities are close by, that's important to people, and stable businesses, and of course, wonderful healthcare in the area.
Any follow-ups here? Questions from the audience? Okay. All right.
How do you see this area benefiting from a regional perspective? How do you fit into New North? And how can you make that benefit?
If I could comment on it, Jim, I think we have to tap into that benefit. The New North group, as well as the Manufacturing Alliance that covers the 18 counties in northeast Wisconsin, we have to tap into that. That's some of the resources that we looked at have had success, that have started programs, initiated programs that are working in other areas. I've been on the board at the Manufacturing Alliance for 4 years. I've seen the success there. We've started bringing some of that up this way. We did the GPS program in Peshtigo. The success, the training center has moved to Marinette now. But it's those type of things that we have to, as businesses, we have to, as a county, tap into that as a resource. And I think the more we can do that, the better off we are. There's a lot of people out there with a lot of good ideas, things that have worked, and we need to tap into to find them. But it's collectively doing it and focused on it. We have maybe what I would call too many little groups all over trying to do the same thing. We have to identify that thing and use the right resource for it.
Follow up there? Any other questions from out there? Okay, I'm going to take you back out to the county for just a little bit. How can we maximize the existing assets for the community?
Yeah, once again, I'm kind of coming from a different perspective here, but those of you that don't know, you have a Class 4 section of whitewater here in Marinette County that doesn't exist anywhere else in the Midwest. The next place you have to go to get that is in like West Virginia or Colorado. So that was part of the reason I brought you here, is because like we're multi-sport with all different kinds of activities, but it's the rafting here that draws everyone. So there's multiple companies here in Marinette County doing rafting. Really our competition is in West Virginia. So people from Chicago and Milwaukee are driving 17 hours to get to Class 4 or Class 5 whitewater. And we're working the same trade shows where we're competing with West Virginia to try to have them drive 4 or 5 hours. Now, in West Virginia, their numbers are kind of going down, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is the river there is pretty dangerous to run, and there's not as many people that are willing to put themselves out there as much anymore. The other one is that people don't have the time, so the family doesn't have the time to drive 16 hours and spend 4 or 5 days to go rafting in West Virginia, but they do have 2 days to drive out here. To add on to what this gentleman over here said, what exists elsewhere, in West Virginia, they work the companies on the rivers there work very closely with the county as well as the state. So the state, in conjunction with the county and the companies, all work together to drive business to their natural resource. Their mission also exists right here in this county now. Like, we probably do a bad job of letting everybody know that. I question how many people in the room actually know that you have that resource here in the county. That's what drives a lot of the tourism. Now, you have a lot of other things going on, fishing and hunting, ATVs and snowmobiles, which we do some of those things as well. But the one thing that doesn't exist anywhere else is the rafting here on Pierce Gorge on the Menominee River near Niagara. We're trying to drive all the business, put people in the hotels, put people in the restaurants and gas stations and everything. But we could, follow some of the plans that already exist in other places to help drive way more business. So when I see they have 10 times the size of business we do, that's why I feel like we could be 10 times bigger than we are, because we have what they have, and we have it so much closer to home for a lot of people. They don't have to drive very far away to get it.
Jill, did you have a comment on that one?
So I actually am in complete alignment with your thoughts. So when I was reviewing the questions, the first thing that came to my mind is if we want to maximize these assets, we need to publicize them. How do you do that? And again, my first thought was through tourism. You know, you can sit and try to, you know, verbalize all the benefits we have in this community to people all you want, but the best way to sell them is to actually get people here to see them. So, you know, we've got the beautiful waterfront properties and parks, and I think if we get people here for the tourism, it'll also give them an opportunity to see what an industrial, you know, really booming town that we are, community that we are.
Yeah, just to add to that, not only the rafting and stuff on the rivers, but the walleye run here is something that people drive many hours to come and fish. If you ever fish down by the bay, you could be standing next to somebody from many states away. Those type of things are going to do what brought Kim here. They're going to come here, they're going to see what we have to offer, they're going to fall in love with the area. So the more we can put our assets that we have up on a pedestal and market them, the more they can see while they're here, the better we're going to have the possibility to attract people long term.
I'll be brief, but I think that talking about many small groups trying to do the same thing, there's some discussion now about a convention and visitors bureau, and I think that that would help the county as well as the region do what we've just all described.
Others? Questions? Rebecca.
Ken, do you think it would help you if you were forming highway up to you?
I don't think so. Right, less congested. I guess I've never heard anybody complaining necessarily about being able to get up here per se. I don't know, like right now, a lot of the way up here is one lane road anyway, the construction. So I guess I wouldn't say that.
Well, I was just in Montana, and all you have to do is fly down 90 or 94 and you can zip off and do a lot of things.
Yeah, I think people say, like our guests say it takes a long time to get here sometimes, but they're not thinking about that once they get out and start doing things here. And then they're coming back the next time, so it's not an issue as far as the time it goes up there.
Yeah, the question.
Do you think we have enough of the right types of restaurants and hotels for people to come?
No. This is so we have this interview question that we ask at work that if money were no issue, you know, what would you do? How would you take that money? What would you do with it? And one of the first things that always comes to mind with me is I think about again all this amazing waterfront property that we have here, and how I feel some of it maybe is wasted. That maybe there's the opportunity to really do more with that. You know, whether maybe you build a nice hotel that's right on the water and maybe has a water park. You know, you look at Wisconsin Dells and their water parks and the different outdoor recreation, horseback riding, zip lining, and so forth. I mean, that's what really draws the people there. So I think there's definitely opportunities to do something similar here.
Yeah, I think for our people, they're not necessarily coming here for the food. They're coming here to do activities, as long as we can give them enough calories to keep going. Then they're fine. We actually do work with local restaurants to find meals to our guests. So we'll bring in meals to serve to them so that they can just keep staying outside and not have to worry about preparing meals. But I mean, we have a few places that we send people and you know, that we know to be good places, and we have kind of a variety. And I think for the most part, they're pretty happy with what they have available to them.
Any other comments on that? I'm going to continue on here with a question for Jason. The question reads, please be specific. What can the county board do to help your business?
So the main focus of the conversation so far, to me, has been lack of people. Granted, it is a it is a high point in the economy right now. The only certain thing is that there's going to be a downturn. But when I look back, and we've had some discussions at our facility about some of the dairy industries around the area and what they're doing to attract people. They have programs, some of them legal, some of them illegal, where they're bringing in immigrants to work the areas. Specific to where I live and where our industry's at, if we tried to do something like that, we would need some type of housing to bring some people in, get some housing for them. Those types of people would be the ones that could start to grow something big out of something small. So maybe you bring a family of 2 or a family of 4 in, help feed the area with some additional workforce. They can become contributing members to our communities, possibly open up their own business somewhere, that type of thing, where they can help promote people to travel to the area, tap into some resources outside of the area that we already haven't developed or tapped into. I think those types of programs are maybe what we need right now to feed our shortage in labor supply, but also to feed the long-term growth. One stat that I can state from our Winnipeg facility, so we have about 300 people on staff at the Carfair Winnipeg facility, and about 80% of those are Filipino. That all started, they're small Filipino communities. They bring in some family members, they get established. They don't all buy houses to the point where we need some rental properties, we need some apartments and things like that, where they can come in, develop themselves. Hey, I know some people, why don't we get a few more family members up here? And they actually have small Filipino communities up there now. I'm not saying that that's the answer, but we need to look, I think, on some of those lines. People that want to contribute to the society that we live in here, that want to come and enjoy the things that we all enjoy being here. But I think somewhere along those lines, I think where maybe the county can assist on something like that.
Follow up there? Jill, you had a similar question about the way the county board can make substantial difference in community or economic development.
Sure, so ultimately it's the same theme again. So we need to get people to want to move here. So people who were born here, they usually want to stay here. So, but when it comes to getting people here, that's where it becomes a challenge. So again, it's investing money into items that make this an attractive area for families. So whether it be the school system, the rec center, I mean, that's a huge thing that we try to sell to potential employees when they come on site, and any other big ticket items. But those are really things that when you're trying to convince someone to move here, you really try to sell those items that the community offers.
Questions from the audience on that one?
Yeah, up north, if you look at a lot of the small towns, sometimes the only business is bars. And how do you what do you need to do to change, and there's also a mindset that is culturally exclusive of strangers. How do you get past that kind of concept of kind of a fear of people coming into the community and the focus on essentially what is drinking? A lot of some of the ATV stuff is based on going from bar to bar, so we know that. So how do you get past that in the northern part of the county?
I'll just give you my viewpoint on it. We have had a lot of discussion on tourism, so obviously people love to come up to this area. What I think, to answer your question, what we need is we need something to keep them here during the week. So they love coming up here on Friday night and they go back south on Sunday. What can we do? How can we improve our schools? How can we improve all the other resources to keep them here Monday through Friday, to have the jobs in the communities, to work at the places that we all work at? We obviously attract them on the weekends. We need to do a better job of keeping them here during the week.
So if we're bringing people in from outside, I mean, we did that successfully in most of these communities 100 years ago or so, right? Immigrants came for the North Woods, the timber industry, or in my neck of the woods, mining. And they all learned to get along and build a community out of that. We need to get back to that mentality. We need to welcome people. We need to offer things that can help them get comfortable and settling into our area. Language services, religious services.
workers that have been relocated to our community, and the company intends to continue bringing them. So we're seeing some of those struggles right now, but we're trying to work through it. And you know, if we're not successful, it's going to be our loss because these folks are just going to leave. And you know, we're seeing new families in schools and all of the things that can help the community be stronger by bolstering our population. So I think, you know, if we can help educate the existing residents to the benefits of bringing people in, you know, we're all sharing the tax base, right? So if we grow the tax base, then it's better for everyone. So, you know, education goes a long way in trying to help people become comfortable.
Anyone else on that one?
Yeah, that's something to it. And I don't know if I'm addressing it appropriately, but for our people, there is definitely a fear of like where they're going to go. And sometimes we do have to tell them, like, you can go to the bar with your family to eat, because where they come from, you don't bring your family to the bar to eat. Like, so I think there's a stigma to it, like where they're a little bit afraid to just walk into any place. And depending on where you go, you do get that feel where even when we take snowmobile trips out with guests, we almost warn them at times because, you know, we have the places to stop to on the trail, and we have to tell them, like, if you go in here, everyone's going to kind of turn around and look at you. And, you know, it's almost humorous in a way to them, but I think that's why, like, when we offer them to bring the meals in to them, it makes it more comfortable, and then we're still giving the business to the local restaurants. The places that we send people to end up being a little more open or a little more tourist friendly, if you will. And we've struggled at times trying to find those places. Like the smaller bars don't want to work with us because there's too much volume. Like they just want to hand the guy a drink across the bar. They don't want to make 40 meals for us. So I think there is some of that for sure, and especially out in the woods where we're at places.
Do you have an idea of what you'd like to see? Is it good?
Do you have a thought on what would work?
Well, I think part of it is I think part of it, what the county can do is really talk about the benefits of allowing people in without having to be afraid that these are outsiders. When I first got here, I was told I was a flatlander. And a flatlander basically up here means that you're never going to get accepted into the local kind of social network. And that's something I think as a county we should be addressing pretty directly with the smaller areas, particularly with the smaller governmental areas, which are very often closed.
Anything else on the topic? Then the next one we have is for Jim. Specifically, what training and education is needed to support your company in today's workforce?
Quite a lengthy response to this one, Keith. By 2020, just some statistics, 25 million baby boomers who make up 40% of our workforce will be leaving. Big numbers. We're all dealing with it. Many times, you know, I look at it, it's happening in Peschio now. I see students obtain high school and college education locally and leave. And we all seen that. What we're looking to do is to build the community character. That's extremely important. Most businesses say that. I mentioned what we did with the GPS program. What does BPM do? Provide in-house tours for high school students and others. Work with the GPS program. We participated in UW Green Bay and the Marinette campus STEM program. 7th graders. We're working at the high school level and we're working down into the grade school level. Middle school and grade school is next. This week I had a conversation with Peschio High School about their program, their student to work program. And basically what we want to do is get their foot in the door. Give them part-time work. Businesses are willing to change or diversify their schedule to attract workers. It's not the same old 7 to 3, here it is what you have to do. Part-time is part of it. We offer benefits for full-time, but you have to be willing to change. We go to several local job fairs. That's part of us getting out in front of people and telling them about the good paying jobs in the area. And I didn't do it just for us, I do it for other companies as well to promote, hey, manufacturing is critical up here. The healthcare industry. We noted about Belmont. Laura talked a little bit about their investment. I'm on the board for the M&M Healthcare Board. We have a brand new hospital here. The investment is being made in the healthcare systems in our area. We need to promote that. Mention the Manufacturing Alliance. They promote internship draft day. Lambeau Field, there's a lot of green and gold down there that happens. But it's a way of recruiting students from throughout the state, and we tap into the UP, the colleges, to bring those students down for internships, co-ops, and then try and sell the program, sell our county, sell our businesses, sell our area to the students from outside. These programs are working. As part of the Manufacturing Alliance and being part of that program, we've established a Marinette County Area Workforce Shortage Subcommittee. And this comprises the local businesses and educational institutions. That's part of it we work with. That's part of the Inspire program, the CAPE program, and these are all educational systems that are supporting the growth in the area. We manufacture thousands of tons of paper. We do that all the time. But what we're doing here doesn't necessarily bring dollars in, but it's supporting our community, it's supporting the education and future generations. Our progress and involvement in these organizations bring awareness to Marinette County. As I stated earlier, we need to do more of that. Say, okay, tap into these resources and bring them up here. I heard once that if we stay on the same path and don't move, we'll get run over. And I think we need to keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things. Conversations like this will open those lines of communication between business and industry, educational and government entities. My hope is that an action plan can be developed, implemented, embraced, and fiscally supported, whether that's by the county, which I would expect some support, businesses, or other entities. It all needs to happen. Thanks.
Jim, there's the other question you may be answering as it is, but is there more local education institutions can do to help the training and workforce?
I believe that the county is fortunate to have the educational resources that we currently have from the local middle school, grade school, private sector schools. You have the UWGB combining now. We have the Marinette campus here. Those are going to bring great opportunities. Rudy mentioned that the engineering type programs, wonderful resource for this area. I think that's part of it. I think the educational plan is in place and it's very diversified. But I want to make one point, probably one of the last points I have. Part of the education that I see, we see that's an issue, and this just came up at Tuesday's meeting. I was in O'Connell Falls for a Business and Education Association meeting there. They talked about student and parental involvement. How do you get parents involved? High school teachers stated that less than 10% of parents are involved in the education of their children. All right? Getting them involved, yeah, you beat them with a stick, you can get them there. You feed them food, you can get them there. All right? We need to educate the parents on the opportunities that are in our area and in our region. The superintendent from Lena stated he brought in Saputo chiefs, local manufacturer, to do a presentation before the students. He got 2 nasty calls from parents saying, why did you do that? My student's going to a 4-year college to gain a degree to do this. And his response was to educate all students on all facets and what's available. It's not a negative thing, it's a positive thing. We have to educate the parents on, hey, we need to support all of them. And that's what will build the community.
Add-ons for that?
Yeah, I just kind of to piggyback on top of that, you know, when I was growing up, there was such a huge push. My parents always told me, you will go to college, you will get a 4-year degree, and I'm glad I did, but it would have been okay for my parents to also remind me that there are good paying jobs in manufacturing, that maybe it's just a certificate you need, or maybe there's a course that could be offered on, you know, basic manufacturing skills, safety skills, things along those lines. So I think a lot of the time those entry-level positions where you don't need an associate's or bachelor's degree, those are forgotten about. And really, I mean, we do offer a lot of good paying manufacturing jobs in this area.
I was just going to say, I remind every group I get a chance to talk to that manufacturers still need 4-year degrees. They need accountants, they need engineers, they need administrators, they need project managers, they need all of these things. So it's not that because your child's on a 4-year path, and we need some of those, that they can't consider a career in manufacturing. So it's not mutually exclusive. So I always remind everyone that it's not segmented the way you're thinking about it. You have to remember that each business needs all types of workers.
Close. Follow-up question?
Yeah, I think we need to also focus in on the students that are not necessarily book orientated, but they do a lot of good things with their hands. And I think that, yes, we have to have book learning. What happened to apprenticeships? Are there any apprenticeships out there that are available through any of these companies?
Yes, we have a lot of companies that I'm aware of that have apprenticeships, internships. The GPS educational program is exactly that, where a student will go to school and I would call them disengaged. They don't want to do the book thing. They want to build something. They want to tear a motor apart. Okay, we've employed students like that. They go to school for 2 hours and then go to a workplace for 6. A lot of those programs are gaining traction in the area. A lot of the school districts, I know the superintendent, when he deserved here in Marinette, is very promotive of those type programs. They're starting new programs in Peshtigo for just that. I know they have a lot of students at Waupaca Foundry. Now we're just trying to diversify it. Manufacturers look for it, but so are the other entities as well.
So the school systems are starting to realize that they need to do more, can I say, with the apprenticeship program, and realize that not everyone is geared towards book. Please don't take me wrong. I mean, I grew up on a dairy farm. Hard work is good for us, okay? But if a student is not acquiring what they need in the classroom, and they would acquire it with doing 2 hours of classwork and some hours in a factory setting, you can still learn teamwork. You can still learn socialization. You have to have communication. All of those kinds of things that will make you a good employee, and not necessarily be an engineer or a computer whiz or whatever.
Just a couple comments on that. Yes, those things are happening at the high school level, but they're also happening at the tech trade level as well, where NWTC is a proponent of this, as is the UW Green Bay Marinette campus, where you can go to work and you take classes on a different schedule to further advance your education, should you choose to do so. However, a lot of the apprenticeship programs are growing, and school administrators are listening, they're hearing, and they're doing more of the programs for all students. Used to be the top end, that's all we're focused on. No, we need to focus on every student.
And the other thing also is not just at the high school level, but need to start talking to those students that are in the middle schools, 6th, 7th, 8th graders, 5th graders, because they're hearing about what are you going to do with your future, what are you going to do when you get out of here. And I think that we need to start looking at some of the younger students instead of waiting until they get to be a freshman or a sophomore in high school.
So something that I've seen more schools, K-12 in the Upper Peninsula use is a program called Geometry and Construction. So they're actually teaching that geometry class on a construction site where the kids get a chance to actually apply those concepts, and they stick with them then instead of being taught in a book learning environment. So it's that hands-on.
Absolutely, yep. practical experience with it, showing them that they're eventually going to need that somewhere along the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other follow-up questions from the audience? Okay, to stay on track and on time, we'll take a break. So it'll take 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes. Is there? There is, okay. There's some refreshments out in the lobby. And give some thought to your follow-up questions when we come back, because that's what we'll be doing. Just running back.
Thank you for what you've done. This is very good. But I have a question from my perspective of living out in the center part of town. We talked a lot about what we can do in the Marinette area. How do we attract people to all of Marinette County, from Niagara to Silver Cliff to Marinette from one end to the other? What do we need to do to bring people into our entire county to stay here?
I was actually talking about this a little bit earlier with one of my coworkers, but we were talking about, it's great that Menominee County is looking at this, but I really think it's not just Menominee County. Everybody needs to partner together. So Menominee County, Marinette County, everybody work together and look at these great resources that we have available, and how you can publicize them throughout the counties. So that's one of the big things that come to mind is I think it's just pulling in the other contacts from other counties and brainstorming those people.
I think some of what else we need to do is the county itself needs to advertise as a county and say this is everything that is to offer throughout the entire county. Too often you have small cities, villages, those areas advertising for people to come to their specific area. So people are so entirely different that you can't just attract one person or one type of person with a given, come to our community, we have this. Whether you go out to Silver Cliff or whether you go to Marinette or Menominee or you go down to Colon, I think it's the southern end of our county, or Niagara up at the north end, every area has something different to offer. And like Door County is, when people say they're going to Door County, they're going up to do everything up there because that county does a very good job of saying, here's everything we have to offer. So you get to that area and then you can split off and do anything you want to do. So I think Marinette County could benefit from having this is our brand type thing. And once you get to the middle, it's a small drive to do anything you want to do.
So I live in Wasaki, and I would say two things. First, if I go into a bar in Wasaki, just as we've said before, everybody's head turns, and I feel very welcome. And I think that that's a problem. But I also think, and this is maybe a more important point, to pick up on what you were saying, we need a clearinghouse of what's going on. We need to make it really easy to advertise what's happening anywhere. And that's going to have to be digital. It's going to have to be a website where you can find out in any point of the county what you could do today or what you could do next week. And that would be valuable for tourists, but it would be really valuable for those of us who live here too, just to know all the opportunities that are out there. The county is huge. There's so much going on. There's so many beautiful places to experience, but it's hard to find those. And I think it's on us to make it easy to find those.
Kind of back down to the basics or the building blocks of economic development. I think for rural communities, if you can be helpful in attracting good broadband resources and cell phone signals throughout those rural regions, that really opens up opportunities in terms of people that may want to choose a rural lifestyle that like the outdoors opportunities but can still conduct business from those locations is a huge opportunity.
Our place in Silver Cliff, we spend about $6,000 a year to get 1.5 megabyte up and down internet that we use for reservations, for our POS. Our customers can't run the cabins like as much as we would like to get them away from their phones. That's what they're looking for. And sometimes they have to
along with that, you know, one of the ways to reduce healthcare costs is through electronics. So not having that broadband, high-speed internet, you know, we're trying to drive people to use the internet to message your doctor, message your provider, to refill your prescription. At our clinic in Marinette, we get over 8,000 phone calls a month. And if people would, and their questions like, I just need a refill. Well, you can do that right online, but because of the lack of the broadband and the high speed, they call. It's much easier for them to call. The other thing is people want to be able to work from home, and you can't do that. So in healthcare, it's our coders, it's our transcriptionists, and it's just too slow, and we can't allow them to work from home. So that's another issue too.
Who else would like to follow up on that?
You know, I think to a certain degree there's also really a spillover effect. When I look at our employees here at Windsor, we have people that come from Osaki, we have people who come from Florida, from Mexico, of course from from Escanaba. So you will see people move to maybe the employment centers, to the companies that we manufacture, but then choose to live somewhere else. So that's a lifestyle they choose. The challenge is bringing them here to begin with, and then maybe located to other parts of the country.
Thank you for that question. Any other follow-up? Other questions from the audience?
I personally might wait and see what's back here from Milwaukee because the traffic constantly getting working. See any benefit in moving? Okay, it may be a half-hour commute from Milwaukee here, but it's a half-hour relaxing. See any benefit in moving back?
I'll start. Absolutely. I mean, I think we have so many benefits. We look at the avoid the congestion of traffic. We look at the housing costs. We look at the general cost of living. Look at the outdoor activities that we have. And there's so many positive aspects that we have compared to living in a great new big city. So, lots of things to promote.
Could you please repeat the question that Shirley asked you?
I'm sorry. What she said is, you know, could you promote the lack of traffic and congestion as a selling point to the area? So even if somebody lives in Osaki and has a 30-minute commute, at least it's a relaxing drive. Unless there's a snowstorm, of course, that's a different story, but not a question.
What do you think, Ken?
So I moved from a town where the average commute was 55 minutes, and you were probably only going about 6 miles. So that's a really frustrating way to start your day. And we do drive 35 minutes into work each day, but it's gorgeous. I mean, I came back last night from being out of town for 10 days, and fall came while we were gone. And just to see the color, I mean, it's one of the best parts of my day. So Shirley, I think your point is well taken. And it's for us the opportunity to live in Wasaki in, you know, what is paradise, and be just 30 miles from where we work is, you know, a big selling point.
Thank you. Other questions?
How important is it for the county government to partner with individual municipalities? Because part of the issue is, again, we have these rural municipalities that are closed off. How important is it for the county to aggressively try to partner with those municipalities in order to bring in change that is going to, in fact, attract people we want into the county itself, particularly in the rural areas?
Can you clarify for me when you say closed off? When you say closed off?
Closed off, and it seems to me that a lot of the municipal townships and the townships in particular, and there's one city, don't seem to interact particularly well, are reallocation, white kind of things, or you know, that kind of stuff.
Thank you for the clarification.
I guess the way I would approach it is I would find one small rural township that's really willing, and you make that the pilot project, and you work together and see if you can't have some success, because what I've seen with municipal units is there's a little bit of peer pressure. If somebody succeeds, the others are going to want a part of that too. So if you can, I wouldn't wait to try and get everybody aligned. I would try and find a couple, one or two or three, whatever you can find that is willing to try some things and try and work together.
I guess I'll comment on that. You know, you want to try and find the beta site, so to speak, to get it started, kick it off. I think it has to be offered to all entities, though, and I think the county is in a leadership position to do just that, saying, hey, we've identified what the issues are. We want everyone involved in this. Get involved. And kind of put it on their lap to say, okay, those that want to participate, participate, and you will find success. Once that success happens, it'll feed on itself.
Thank you. Other question?
Yes, my name is Peter Knopfberg. I've been living in the city for 27 years, and I'm currently on the Marinette City Council. I want to thank everyone for coming today, and Mr. Killian as moderator. We touched a little bit about this tonight, but I'd like to get more specific on the localities within the county as far as the housing needs. You mentioned hotels in the area, or do we need some more low to middle income housing in Marinette or in Peshtigo? I mean, it's one thing to talk about jobs and getting more jobs in the area, but if you don't have adequate housing, what good are the job opportunities?
So with my experience both in healthcare and now in manufacturing, I would agree that that is a problem we see. So we're relocating people to this area, so an engineer, for example, and they're coming to me asking, where can I live? And they're really, you know, locally it's tough. We usually end up sending them to Peshtigo. There's some nice apartments in the Peshtigo area, but that's really all for that middle income level that, you know, comes out as being available as you look at the private homeowners who are renting out parts of their duplexes and whatnot.
Just say along those lines, I think it is county-wide, and it goes back to some of the other comments of promoting the entire county. It's a short commute. Definitely a problem.
I think people are looking, what Jill said about the rentals, but also maybe townhouse options with no maintenance. That's what they're looking for when they come in here, because they're busy, they're working, they have families, so they're really looking for those kinds of options.
But just to clarify, your question was about low to middle income housing. I think what we're talking about here is middle to high end housing, so people that come in.
It doesn't matter to me either way. I just use that as an example. I guess generally speaking, it would be housing in general, regardless of the income level. But if you're gonna attract people to live here, they've got to have an adequate place to live, and their income level will determine that.
So an interesting point about that for the middle to high income is that a lot of the folks who are accepting jobs here are living in Green Bay or close to Green Bay, because that's where the apartments have stainless steel appliances and Corian countertops, and there's an expectation when people move here from a city of the minimum that they will accept, and those things are hard to find in Marinette and Menominee, and it is something that we need to solve. I don't know much about the structure of government or where the grants come from, but there are programs that I know that we could look into to increase increase density, maybe in the older buildings, build more apartments and spaces that aren't being used now that are potentially options. We have a handful of residential units, and they're not vacant for a day. I mean, if somebody finds out there's something available, and it's immediately, taken off the market. So it's definitely improved.
Next question.
Has somebody ever contacted like premier builders? I know persons in my family are involved in premier builders. A big company like that can come up here and build apartments. And, has anybody ever done anything like that?
So I'm living this right now. We have the same issues. We have a lot of low-income housing. There's always vacancies that go unfilled, but we don't have anything else available in the community. So I've been working very hard to get in front of developers. We have a housing study that was done for our county a couple of years ago, and it very much talks about hundreds of units that would need both rental and single family or duplex style housing. However, when I sit in front of a developer and you look at the rents that are charged in our community, they can't cash flow a new build and make a profit. And that's what they need to do. They need to make a profit. It's a business. And so we're working very hard to find the instances in our community where the rent is a little higher and they're filling those vacancies quickly. They aren't having trouble putting people in those rentals, so that we can document that and show developers that there is a little higher ceiling on the rent than perhaps what the study from a couple of years ago shows. But it's slow going as we try and document that. But it's definitely a problem. The other side of that is building costs are high right now. Economy is doing really well. Builders are very busy. So the prices are not low. And they also have a hard time finding workers too. So their capacity might not be at 100%.
Yeah, just to add to what Lois said, not only do you have to get a developer on board with that, is that the communities have to be willing to set that up. I know years ago we had an issue with Misaki. Somebody was looking to put a medium income housing developed unit in there, and there were members of the community that, not in my backyard, I don't want that type of stuff here. So the communities also have to be accepting to have that type of housing in the community and change maybe their ways and be a part of the solution rather than be a part of the problem where we just say, no, we're not going to allow that in here. And then the communities that are going to, those are going to be the ones that are going to advance.
Okay. Any other follow-up there? Well, we're coming up on into our time. So I have a question for the panel. 5 years from now, picture yourself here, same group of people. What topics do we want to be talking about 5 years from now?
Since we have successfully created a fantastic website for Marinette County, and everybody is racing from one end of the county to the other to do all of the fantastic things that are happening, and we have succeeded in making our downtown look vibrant, I would want to ask, where do we go next?
Good view.
I think we'll be in the same situation. One of the same situations that we need to promote is, now who do we educate? Now what do we have to educate them on? What is the next phase of manufacturing? What is the next phase of the healthcare? We talked this morning at the hospital board meeting. Who would have thought that, from 10 years ago, who would have thought that you'd be doing outpatient joint replacement today? Wouldn't be there. What are we going to advance to in 5 years? And say, okay, maybe the comment's going to be, how do we slow this thing down? The technical opportunities. I just see robotics coming on. Those are things we're going to be talking about, for sure.
So we've solved these other problems and we're on to the good stuff.
Oh, yes.
All right? What other things we want to talk about?
Well, hopefully, if you've succeeded with some of the initiatives to really grow the community, like Kim mentioned, and you're, as local units of government, you're looking at increased revenues, right? Because there's economic activity that's increasing that tax base. So hopefully you're having a conversation about how do we reinvest that back into our community to continue to meet the challenges that we see today. Because we know there's always going to be challenges, so you have to keep reinventing yourself and make sure that you continue to address the challenges that exist that day, that year, for the foreseeable future.
Audience, do you have a follow-up to that?
My question is, as far as your turnover rates, why, if any of you guys have high turnover rates, is it lack of education, lack of work ethics, or lack of showing up? Like, what is the biggest reason for your employees leaving, other than possibly housing or anything else?
I'll start since I have a microphone. I think that the turnover that we see right now is basically because everybody's hiring and people are looking for a little better opportunity or a little different company. The grass is greener or whatever it might be. But anybody we hire is coming from somebody else and the same as they. So maybe it's a more convenient commute for them. Maybe it's they don't like their supervisor as much. Or, maybe they don't like their work schedule. Whatever reason to move to another company. But we're all recruiting aggressively. We have to say that's the reason I think for the current turnover. It's not that we have bad workplaces. It's not that we have bad employees at all. It's just simply we're all recruiting aggressively and hiring that we're full employment, so we're hiring away from each other.
Rudy, is that a step up on the rung in terms of earnings and job?
I think inevitably we'll come to that. I think the wages will increase as competition goes up. I think what we will also see is more automation and efficiency gains because the payback period on these investments will be shorter, and because of the lack of employees that we have, that you simply have to resend work or more with a smaller workforce.
Our biggest turnover is age, is retirement. 10% last year retired, left. I have another 10% going next year. So that's going to continue, and I think everybody here is experiencing it. Everyone has, as you said, everyone has good jobs, good paying jobs, but the people are moving now more than ever because there might be a little better opportunity over there. I feel for Ken over here who's struggling to get people up in that area and not benefits. That's a challenge. When I read now, companies are offering benefits and insurance first day. That's huge. That just didn't happen before. But that's the competitiveness that we're seeing in business now. And people are leaving to go to that next step.
I would agree that retirement is a huge issue for us, and we're probably about the same 10% every year as we go. But I think the other thing is it has to do with age, but it's the opposite end of it. So the younger folks that are coming in, they have a very different look at work, and they want to come in and do the work, but nothing else. So there's no real engagement in us as an employer. There's no real loyalty being created, and as Rudy said, if they don't like something that day, they are not coming back. So we've got to learn how to work and engage those folks to be able to help them see what the opportunities are in healthcare and try to keep them, because it's very expensive to train somebody for a year and then have them leave. For us, for an RN, it's about $30,000 to $35,000 just throwaway money if they leave after a year. So.
Any other? Well, that brings us to the end of our time. Mark, do you want to say something? coming to the end here. I do want to say it's been a privilege for me just to get to know this fine group of panelists, and you've been wonderful to work with. I'm glad to know all of you.
Well, first off, I think we should give these people a round of applause. I was asking a little close of what's next. And I want to start with why, because Don asked that question at the last county board meeting. Why would we do this? What are we going to get out of this? And you've heard from me before many of the things that were talked about here, because I've met with just about, not everybody, but I mean probably half of the people on this panel. And we've had conversations, and I've been in many of those meetings. And the one thing I wanted to do is to have us all looking through the same window. There's a serious, even though the economy's booming, there's a serious underlying issue in this community that we need to address. It's my personal opinion that we can lead as a county board, something we've never done before. County boards are created by the state to do mandated programs. That's what everybody thinks, but that's not what we need to do. We need to lead an effort to help solve these people's problems in cooperation and in partnership with these folks. So what's next? I'm going to talk to John a little more, because the one thing I think I've learned, there was a presentation at the Counties Association conference that was go regional or go home. And that was one thing that I learned from other regional planning commissions. Bay Lakes Regional Planning is not doing enough for us. We need to get them up here and get their feet on fire. Whether it costs us some money, whatever the case may be. First thing I'm going to ask of them is do a demographic presentation for us. Because there was one down south that did a demographic, they showed their demographic presentation, and the numbers are just scary. I mean, if you look at, they talked about 10% retirement a year. They did projections 2022, 23, 24. It's scary. And I would bet that we're aged to that point that that's going to happen here. And then it's going to be create a plan and have support for that plan. Like Jim said, we need to create a comprehensive plan along with partnership with these business folks and more to come up with that we're all willing to fund somehow. Because I think they have a stake in the game. And I think that's important that we do it as a partnership. With the municipalities, we talk about them silos. We have silos throughout this county. There's more silos now than when I was on the board 14 years ago. Tear them suckers down. We're in this together. Let's do it together. When I go down to Bay Lakes Regional Planning, and I've told you that before, they talk about from Fond du Lac to Green Bay. Doesn't matter. Chancellor Miller's here. He can tell you that. They work on a regional basis, just unreal. Menominee, Dickinson County, us, O'Connell, we're in this together. Let's start working across those lines. So with that, I'm running out of breath. I talked enough. And again, I'd like to thank everybody and hold us to the fire. We had this meeting, so you guys, if we're not doing something, let us know. Thank you all.